Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jam Yaps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by a newly upgraded marketing director and DJ who lists his favourite movie as The Gentleman and favourite TV show as Parks and Rec. Welcome back to the show, Sydney's favourite pub reviewer, Jackson Carr.
Mate, it's been a while. It's good to be back. Wow.
You're like proper pub influencer now.
It's funny, like being on TikTok, I've always said TikTok's better than Instagram because you can post stuff and people don't have to follow you and they'll see your content. So I'll see people liking and commenting. They don't follow me, but they still get my stuff. And like I did my last Sunday, I did my first ever paid review where someone gave me a gift voucher. I got hit up today about things like I love it. So yeah, it's cool. It's fun.
Yeah, I think one of them has like 20, 30,000 views or something on it. I was like, what the hell?
I think this one's like 80,000.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Like
that's next MCG worth of people watching a pub review.
Yeah, it's like I think my biggest ever video is like 700,000, which is weird, and that's just me singing piss. But like, with something I'm genuinely passionate about and I love, it's nice to see. So, yeah, next time we do one of these, it'll probably be Jackson marketing and pub reviewer because I think DJing is finishing soon, to be honest. So, yeah.
Fair enough. So this week, timelines converge as we welcome Deadpool and Wolverine into the Marvel Cinematic Universe proper, with the latest Marvel flick aptly titled Deadpool and Wolverine. Very creative with the titling for this one.
I kept the coaster. I've kept the coaster from the premiere. Love it.
Coaster, lanyard, walked down there with lots of gifts. Although we didn't get one of the show bags.
Neither. Far out. That's all right.
Apparently we weren't cool enough for the show bag thing.
Yeah.
So this one takes place 6 years after the events of Deadpool 2, where we find Wade Wilson is now retired as the mercenary Deadpool, living a quiet life selling random cars and like family vans. That is until the Time Variance Authority, the bureaucratic organization that exists outside of time and space, monitoring the timelines, pull him in for a new mission. Before we dig into everything, we'll start off spoiler-free. What did you think of Deadpool and Wolverine?
I loved it. I've been waiting for this movie to come out since the last one, and just seeing all the teasers with Deadpool and Wolverine, yeah, it made my soul smile. It made me smile. It was good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought this was fantastic. I would say this is the best MCU movie since, probably Endgame.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like, it was just, I don't know, their chemistry was amazing. It was just, I don't know, it was just, sometimes like movies never, or something doesn't live up to the hype. I honestly thought it did.
Yep.
It was just such a funny movie that even
it still had like the heartfelt moments, the moments that had meaning to it, that it was all earned. It wasn't just like a cheap, sad moment. It was, I'm disappointed.
No, it wasn't a cheesy thing. No, it wasn't cheesy at all. It was just well done. And I didn't feel like, to me, like I feel a lot with MCU lately, they try to be too funny, but this felt like it was naturally funny. Like sometimes you watch an MCU movie and they'll try to push through a joke and you're like, ugh, or they'll try too hard. Try hard. Shout out to being in school. But yeah, it just flowed naturally and it was just so good.
Yeah, I think they fell into that trap of, up until Endgame, it was all very serious, very like, oh, we're not trying to be the silly comic movie. We're trying to be legitimate drama movies that just so happen to have superheroes. And then obviously looking at the success of the Deadpool movies, that then filtered in and they sort of tried to emulate that, and sometimes it didn't work.
Yeah.
I think the Spider-Man movies were probably the closest for it to work,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that's just because Spider-Man is like that smart-assy type character.
And also, Spider Man is literally the, I don't know how to say, well, he's the biggest superhero for kids.
Mhm.
Like, if you think about growing up in Marvel, Superman's always been the one that if you're a kid, you look up to Superman. You love him. I got a tattoo, and it was going to be, it's half Stanley's face when Stanley passed, and it was going to be Spider Man because like, this is my childhood. But then after Endgame and Iron Man, I got that. But like, Spider Man's always like that iconic child figure. So it could tie into, I guess, the jokes and the kid stuff and like blur that line. Whereas this movie, you've got a deformed Ryan Reynolds with everything he does, and then you've got a deformed like but it just ties in well. Whereas like, I don't know, you couldn't see that with like an Iron Man, or you couldn't see it with a Captain America. So they somehow worlds collide, and they've done well.
Yep. And I think the best part about this too was pretty much none of those cameos was spoiled. So like
Yeah,
that's been the big thing I've been saying to people. Like if you are planning on seeing this, avoid spoilers like the plague.
yeah,
Go and watch it as soon as possible so you don't get spoiled, because some of these moments
yeah,
are crazy.
yeah. Um, Respectfully, that was my second favorite part of the whole thing. Obviously, being a music nerd, once again, they've absolutely nailed it when it comes to the music and the soundtrack. I was frothing. We saw it on Wednesday, no,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. My Spotify on repeat, I've already got, I'm not telling what the songs are, I've already got one of the songs in the on repeat. It's down the bottom, but it's already there because when I went home, I just listened to it on repeat, and then I feel the other songs. So yeah, once again, that's the thing that I really love. The fact I now,
Yep. Yeah, they've got that Disney licensing money now, not just
yeah,
Fox licensing money. Because like
yeah,
Deadpool 1 and 2, they had a couple of big songs, but that was kind of it. It was like one or two,
yeah,
particularly like the intro song. This one
yeah,
has top tier music littered
yeah,
right throughout.
multiple. Like you've got the first intro song, which we were talking about. We're like, well, wonder what it's going to be. You've got the first intro song. If I was still DJing heaps and playing party sets, I'd have to have all these songs for this weekend because or the next weekend they want it. Had that. But even in like the end credits, you've got songs that you're like, oh wow, like it's just musically, it's just perfect.
Yep. And also with the cameos as well, they weren't just thrown in for the sake of throwing in. Oh, look,
Yeah,
there's like, I'm thinking like Deadpool 1 is the big one where, oh, look, it's Stan Lee. He's the DJ at a strip club.
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
he's just there to have a cameo. All of the cameos
yeah,
in this literally progress the story. They're there for
yeah,
a
yeah,
reason to get us to the next point. They're not just, oh,
yeah,
that guy showed up. That's cool.
yeah. It's kind of like when I think of cameos in movies that are so irrelevant and it's just there for the cameo, I think of Anchorman 2, and then you just see Drake rocking up being like, yo, man. And it's like, it's so tacky, but with this one, it just works so well. It fits in the storyline. You'll see it, and yeah, you're like, wow, this is great.
Even like Deadpool 2, Brad Pitt shows up for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, it's a cameo,
yeah.
but it's a cameo just for the sake of having a cameo. And
Oh, yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh, it's Ryan Reynolds, mate. We can get him in for a couple of hours to film this bit, and that's it.
yeah.
Whereas these were
But
legitimate
yeah,
characters that you felt for when they were in the movie.
yeah, big time, big time.
Um, so then the cast, obviously Ryan Reynolds back as Deadpool, Hugh Jackman back as Logan, aka Wolverine. This time with animated series, accurate blue and yellow suit. Awesome to finally see that suit in live
Yeah,
action. Also, epic moment when he finally dons the mask.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like when that goes down, literally, I think one of the nicest things about one of these premieres that they get looked after, you've got a lot of the proper enthusiasts in the movie So like you've obviously got like casuals that will go to see like they'll see it in like this week, so whatever. But we saw people dressed up all the time, and then just having it like when Don the Mask or when certain things happen with you, just hear people cheering, and you're like, that's a nice moment. Like obviously not everyone's going to be able to see it, but just having that being like, oh, that's a really nice moment where you can see that is wonderful.
Yeah, like there was some proper get hype moments where one in particular
Yeah,
for me that we won't spoil yet, but when this character steps out of a doorway, I lost my shit.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and they still kept a lot of the tone of Deadpool 1 and 2 as well. Like
yeah,
this is very gory, very violent, which needed to
mm,
be that way with Deadpool. That's kind of
yeah,
his whole shtick. And Wolverine as well.
yeah,
Like Wolverine's probably one
yeah,
of the more violent characters available for the MCU.
yeah,
So it would have been weird if they
yeah.
didn't have that.
They paid tribute to two great movie franchises, and they've done well with it. So very happy.
And comedy tone as well. They kept a lot of the comedy flair of 1 and 2, like the self-referential, self-deprecating, fourth wall breaking jokes. And shockingly to me, a lot of the sexual innuendos as well. I didn't expect
Mm,
that part to carry over. Even though this is R-rated, I expected it
yeah,
to be much more toned back than it was.
yeah, big time, big time.
Because I wrote down some of the sexually suggestive comments. The one that was in the trailer, pegging, that was mentioned very early
Yeah,
on. Didn't
yeah,
expect that. The intro sequence, we see Deadpool kills a TVA agent by hitting him in the crotch with one of Wolverine's like bones, and then like wanks it a little bit.
yeah,
And I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, the Wolverine's helmet has blowjob handles, according to Deadpool.
yeah.
Smash debating.
Yep.
I was like, what? And then they explained what that is, and it's like, that's pretty full on. Whiskey Dick of the Claws was another one. That was a good
Yeah.
laugh. That one. Um, Flicking the bean and get your special socks.
Yep.
Like I was not expecting half of that to carry over, but I'm glad it did because I was mentioning to Karina last week on Deadpool 2 that if they hadn't kept that, it would have been weird. Whereas if we'd gone from like PG Deadpool to
Yeah.
R-rated Deadpool would have been fine, but to go back the other way would be totally wrong. So I'm glad they just kept it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting
Yeah. Big time.
looking forward when Deadpool is incorporated more into your standard MCUs, like when he's in there alongside Spider-Man and Thor and all of those, how much he's allowed to
Yeah.
get away with in those versions.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine they're going to keep R ratings for all MCU movies moving forward.
Nah. Not. It's too much of a cash cow for them. There's no way they would do that at all. They need to keep it PG. But then also, I don't know. I just feel like at the moment, thanks to the rise of social media, I sound like a boomer at the moment. Kids these days are so like
They know this sort of stuff anyway.
I know, you'll see like kids at like a footy game, and they'll be doing blow jobs with their. I'm not going to do it, but like blow jobs with their two hands, and like they're so. It's everything's so everywhere, and like as much as this whole like look out for kids, it's there. Like people know it, so I don't know. I think they just got to find that balance, but then it'll come down to like the rating system or what they want to do and stuff. But I don't know.
To be fair, all of Donald Trump's speeches recently have had him just double jerk in the air.
Yeah, yeah, skiing, you know.
But also like even though this is R-rated, it's still tracking incredibly well box office wise for
Yeah,
this weekend. They're predicting an opening weekend of over $360 million, which would immediately make it the
wow,
highest opening R-rated movie ever. So
yeah,
it
wow.
already goes past the first two Deadpools, past Logan, and past Joker.
Yeah, wow. Do we think it's going to hit a Billy?
if it's going to hit $360 million in the opening weekend,
Yeah,
probably a solid chance, because
yeah,
it is one that you could go and watch a couple of times and not like
yeah.
feel like you're just seeing the same thing. Like you could easily watch this a couple of times. And I think this is not going to be one that they do it's only in cinemas for like 2 weeks. Let's rush it to Disney
Yeah.
Plus. This is going to be one where they're going to leave this sit there for a while, and it can just keep
I'm,
racking up.
yeah. I mean, my mum goes, oh, because I tell her every time I go to movies or whatever, and she loves movies. She goes, oh, do you want to see Deadpool together? I know you really enjoyed it. And I was like, no, it's not a movie to see with your mum, but yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
No, no, love your mum, but no, we're not doing that.
You just send your mum by herself.
Yeah, no. I mean, I go to movies by myself, and yeah, I was like, this is the one thing that you will go by yourself. But yeah,
Yeah. So it is good to see a movie coming back and hitting those big numbers straight away for opening weekend.
yeah,
Obviously helps that it's been 6 years since the last Deadpool movie.
yeah,
So there is that hype.
yeah,
I was looking at previous budgets and box office. Deadpool 1, budget 58 million, box office overall 782.8. Deadpool 2,
oh,
uh, budget 110 million, box office 785.8. So like I said to Karina, like doubled their budget but didn't double their
yeah,
box office. They really basically came out with the same amount. This one, budget $200 million. Definitely shows in the CG. This is much improved on Deadpool 2.
yeah,
And yeah, currently tracking to hit halfway of what they wanted to hit with the last two.
yeah.
So good chance.
I also, I also think when it comes to my marketing brain, you've got Ryan Reynolds, who is uh, obviously you're way more into movies and film than I am, and TV shows. But Ryan Reynolds is one of the masters of PR and one of the masters of like promoting his movies. Like then you see on like the social media where they we'll do a draft, pick a person who this, and this. Ryan Reynolds is, I reckon, the best actor when it comes to promoting movies, and he's just so funny and he's so genuine. Even though I've heard some things about him that are a bit, but he's just so good at getting in people's faces. You've got half the world now that's probably a Wrexham fan because of
Mm-hmm.
him and Rob. Like he is the master. If you're going to do a movie, I saw Free Guy because of him. I've seen so much stuff because of him. He's come a long way from like Van Wilder and Just Friends. Like he is the master of promoting
And
movies,
Green
and I
Lantern.
think that's why. And Green Lantern, and even though he rips in Green Lantern in Deadpool too, like he's also, I'm not wearing green, I promise. But yeah, like he's honestly the master of like marketing, and it's so important these days for movies when it's like, why would I spend 20, $30 to go to a movie when I can wait 2 to 3 weeks and watch it on my Apple TV or my Netflix or my whatever. So it's nice to see him. He's so passionate about the movie, and yeah, it's, I guess that's the marketing brain in
Yep.
me.
The one thing I was shocked, because he is so good at marketing, no aviation gin. I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
expected to see like at some point Wolverine goes, "Oh, there's no bourbon or whiskey here. I'll just drink this," and it would be aviation gin or
It
something.
was it was like he was in. There was a movie that he was in with The Rock and
Gal
a
Gadot,
very attractive. Yeah,
Red
yeah, the
Notice.
Galgo. And you watch Red Notice. You watch that, and there's aviation gin in that. So like, I don't know. With this, I guess with Marvel, because no aviation gin wasn't references to Wrexham or a few other things. So maybe there might have been like a clause being like, hey, personal stuff you can't do. So that might be like come down from up above, or like he might not want to do it because he knew this movie would be successful because of how much hype there was. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to overdo the aviation. I don't want to overdo everything else because I want to save it for another time, not just be like a one trick pony or like a, bless her, Delta Goodrem back in the day who'd be advertising every second product and you'd be like, oh, Delta's so good. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I think because he's so smart, he probably just didn't want to like overdo his brand stuff. So he's probably like, I'm happy to leave it because once again, he's in a movie that's massive. Everything he does is going to fall off the back of it. So it's, yeah.
And there was Jim Beam product placement, so they may
Yeah.
have just paid exorbitant amount to get that and be like, we have to be the only spirit that's shown type thing.
Yeah, but I said I get it. You'll watch movies or TV shows, and then someone will be like for example, this Guinness glass. They'll be like having a drink, and then they'll literally put it down like this
Yep.
in a shot, and you can see it. And like it's also when they have the drink of it, it's not cold because when you have a cold drink, you've like a bottle of beer, you've got condensation on it. So they'll be like,
It hides the logos and stuff.
they'll be like literally in front of the camera. So like I remember like watching Entourage throughout the seasons that have like Heineken or Budweiser, whatever, and they'd literally just be like the way they pick it. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
product
It's
placement
like
in movies is so
picking
funny.
it up and like obscuring the logo like this. It's like, hold it down here. The
Yeah,
logo has to be
yeah, yeah,
perfectly straight on the camera. And that's what the Jim Beam was. Like we see Logan drinking it and he's got the logo facing directly towards the camera. I was like,
yeah, yeah.
of course he did.
Like even with like marketing, what I do for venues, without saying who they are, but you'll work with certain brands and they'll have things like a perfect pour or a perfect placement. And then when you're like, oh, so and so are giving me money to do an event, they'll be like, I want photos and I want the perfect pour to be this drink here and the energy drink tipped at this angle, and you can see everything there. So like,
Oh, God.
even that's coming from like a pub thing, and it's come from pub when you get like 5 to 15 grand, whatever. This is $1 million budget. What they do there is so switched on, and it's so interesting, and like, yeah, it's just wild.
Uh,
But it's also like, I think Apple or someone had a deal where they never wanted a bad guy in a movie to have an Apple. I can't remember what it was. I probably should have researched this, but this we're clearly ad libbing at the moment. But there was always a thing that a certain phone brand were like, we'll give you money to be in a movie, but the bad guy cannot use our product.
they have to use like a
because we don't want to be so
generic
terrible.
knockoff phone or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Like there's all they have that stuff. Like, and the amount of money they give, like it's wild. So
Yeah. The amount of money they're paying, they get what they want.
yeah, exactly.
The last note I wrote down about Hugh Jackman as well. Hugh Jacked Man, it should be.
Yeah.
Holy dooly.
Oh my god.
For how old is he? He's ripped for however old he is.
Yeah.
He is 55.
Yeah.
That's a very fit 55-year-old man.
Yeah. Like, hopefully there wasn't CGI on it or whatever, but like he was ripped. Like he was. Yeah. Wow. What a guy.
The other characters that we get introduced to in this one, so Vanessa Carlyle, Deadpool's ex-fiance in this one, returns.
Yeah.
Peter, played by Rob Delaney, returns. Blind Owl is great in this with all of her cocaine references. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is in this, but she's one that feels kind of like a cameo for cameo's sake. But there is a
Yeah.
reason that all of these characters kind of get sidelined. But yeah, she's kind of just there. She's not anywhere near as prominent as she was in Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
Colossus, the same. Yukio, the same. But the two new characters that are very important, Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova. What a character that is. That's a very disturbing,
Oh my
very
god.
disturbing character.
Oh.
Just fingering people's
Turn on
brains.
half the time, to be honest. But like, yeah, like, oh, it's hot.
Oh, no. Fingers coming out of people's noses and eyeball holes. Ugh. Gross. But yeah, that's a legitimate character from the comics as well. Charles Xavier's twin sister, who in the comics, the reason she ends up in the void is because Charles in the womb recognizes that she's evil and kills her in the womb. So it's kind of fair that she is a little bit like disgruntled and hates the world.
I mean, would you prefer to end up in the void or Simpson style and be stuck in an attic like Bart Simpson's evil twin? Like, I think the void's fun. you can see some fun people. So
And she gets to do whatever she
better off
wants.
there.
Everyone's
Exactly.
scared of her. They're like, oh, I don't want my brain to
Yeah.
be diddled. And then Matthew McFadden as Mr. Paradox. He's a fine villain. He services the plot.
Yeah.
He's very much like what's his name in the first one? Can't remember his name now. Like Francis. He's like,
That was like a decade ago. I can't remember last weekend. I don't remember his name
yeah,
from 10 years
yeah,
ago.
Francis. Like he's a
Yeah.
villain, very generic type villain. Like I just want to end the world type deal. But he's fine.
Yeah.
It's Cassandra Nova that is like the big bad of this movie.
Yeah.
Plot wise, yeah, we'll probably get into sort of more spoilery territory now. But yeah, if you don't want to get spoiled, you want to just check this movie out, go and see it. There's no like ifs, ands, or buts. Don't wait for it. You need to see it as soon as possible. Otherwise, you are going to lose some of those big pops.
Yeah. I also think this is a lot different to like the Avengers movies where there was such a campaign online being like, don't post spoilers. Whereas I've already seen a few people post Instagram stories with spoilers that I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I thought it'd be a nice thing that like they could be like, everyone just doesn't post it. So yeah, if go see it, like, yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of the internet these days. Like people are, we really
yeah,
wish for people not to spoil this movie, but it's the internet.
yeah,
You're gonna see
yeah,
a spoiler. So if you want to see this,
yeah,
either stay off the internet or go and see
yeah,
it this weekend.
yeah, big time.
Are you a trading card collector or a fan of Australian pro wrestling? If so, you're not going to want to miss out on the limited edition Australian wrestling cards. Each set includes 50 packs of 10 cards, including some of the country's top wrestling talents like Robbie Eagles, Shane Haste, Madison Eagles, Hartley Jackson, and they have Shaza McKenzie listed, although she is not a favorite. The Velocities, and a lot more. There's wrestlers, referees, announcers, commentators that are featured, giving you a full appreciation of the Australian independent scene. The cards sold out a lot faster because cards are hot right now, as I'm sure Jeremy Lambert will tell you. But you can order your Australian wrestling cards now at Pario Magazine. That's PARIO magazine.com.au/AUS WRES cards. Follow Australian Wrestling Cards on social media at AusResCards for updates. Join the hundreds of fans who have already discovered the excitement of Australian wrestling cards.
So in terms of the plot that we'll get into, we find out Deadpool now wants to join the Avengers, or wanted to join the Avengers you get the classic Deadpool intro flashback of, and how did I end up here? We go back to March 14, 2018, where he's trying to join the Avengers. He goes to meet what's his name? Happy Hogan. Does an interview, like a job interview, to try and get into the Avengers, and gets turned down because he says, I want it, not I need it or something.
Yeah.
And then the TVA capture him at his surprise birthday party, and he's given the choice: join the sacred timeline, and watch all your friends die, or die alongside them. And in classic Deadpool fashion, he's like, no, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to be Marvel Jesus and go and find this anchor being who he thinks is him for a second. He thinks he's the anchor being that has now been pulled out of the universe, but it's not him. It is actually Logan, which I thought was a cool like twist on it, of it's, you're not as important as you think, Deadpool. So then, they have to go, and he has to go on this mission he puts himself on this mission essentially to find a replacement Logan. And we go through all of the multiverses and meet a whole bunch of different Logans.
Some great characters.
We meet comic accurate Logan, the short Logan, who in the comics is 5'3". I think in this one he's about 4'2". That was probably one of the funniest like jokes that they made, because I'm like, a lot of people aren't
Yeah.
going to get that. They're just going to be like, why is he like tiny Logan? But that's comic book accurate Logan apparently.
Yeah.
And then one of the biggest cameos, and this one is like a legit cameo, Henry Cavill as Logan. That was cool. I love that one.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Deadpool makes the joke of, you're not in this universe. You're supposed to be in that universe. What else did I have here? So yeah, that was cool. And then we get into like the big proper part of, he finally finds the Logan that he's looking for. He goes to the Logan movie site thinking, Logan regenerates. He's not actually dead. He's just buried in this box alive. Nope. That Logan is dead. So the Logan that we meet here is a new variant, hence the comic accurate suit, not the Logan suit. Which is cool. I really enjoyed that part. And then we go on an adventure with these two, sort of on a buddy cop type adventure, but they're also antagonistic towards each other. Like Logan he hates that he's been dragged on this mission. He doesn't feel like he deserves this opportunity to have redemption. Whereas Deadpool, on the other hand, is, I'm Marvel Jesus. I'm fixing everything. I deserve this. I'm actually a hero. And they ultimately finally get to become heroes.
Yeah.
What else? So we get to see in the Void. Actually, no, right from the start, Deadpool gets added to the Marvel Studios title intro. That was cool. I loved that as well.
Yeah.
The opening sequence. What did you think of that opening sequence in comparison to the previous two Deadpool openings?
I'm always wowed with the opening sequences with any of the Deadpool movies. I think they are the best in the whole Marvel thing, and I'll always talk it up. And yeah, and then when the song came in, I liked it.
Yep. Yeah, the NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye. That was
Bye, bye, bye.
very cool. My one gripe with that sequence is they had a lot of shots that were like a throwback to the era of we're doing 3D in movies. There was a lot of shots where I'm like, that's like one of those, oh, that's for a 3D movie, but it's not. It was like, yeah, could have done without some of those, but it's fine. Apart from that, the actual action and choreography in this sequence was great.
Yeah. I think there were a few things, as we discussed, but maybe we won't discuss here, that they might have looked back on being like, maybe we shouldn't have included this in the movie, but that was just my personal opinion as someone that lives in the West and is surrounded by certain opinions. But yeah.
Oh no, I imagine you're correct there, where they put that what is it, I think it's a coexist bumper sticker that has a bunch of like the Israeli flag and different religions and races and stuff. I'm like, they probably could have done without that. What else was
the NSYNC thing with Justin Timberlake was a bit like red hot as well because of what he's gone through. And there was another one I was thinking that day. I can't remember what I said, but there was one more that I was like, oh.
Was it was it Jay-Z?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, actually, probably.
I think it was like a Jay-Z song or something. You're like, oh, they probably wish they hadn't used that, but what can you do with movies that take years to produce? It's not like at the last second they can recut it and sync everything up to a whole new song.
It's like when I DJ, there's like right now, because I'm playing a lot of hip hop sets, when I do play, I just go through them and I'm like, oh, I can't play this artist, I can't play this artist. But because I'm playing off USB, it's fine, but I'm not running a multi-million-dollar project, so yeah.
Yeah, and thankfully you're running off a USB. It's not the old days where you're carrying around crates of
Oh,
vinyl
the
or
amount of CDs.
CDs.
Yeah, all the CDs. Yeah. I don't know, my back's thankful for that, but Jesus.
You just rock up with USB, good to go. It's crazy the
Yeah.
way.
It was even like last night when we were together at Dave's exhibition. I had all these USBs. I had like 4, and I was like, I don't know which one to play. And I was like, oh, I picked this one because it's got the most songs on it, but I can just do like this, and take it out. Whereas like back in the day, you'd have like CDs and crates, whatever. So like it's
Yeah, you had those booklets of just like CD after CD, and you're like
yeah.
flicking through trying to find the
And
one
the worst thing is you'd have the
one
CDs
song.
and you'd write on them, but then you just get, because you're so young, you just get heaps loose when you're playing, and then you just jam the CDs in other places that all disappear and stuff. And you're like, what's going on? Whereas like you're sober, you're like, oh, these are my tracks here and stuff. Whereas yeah, so shout out
Yeah.
USBs.
You've spent weeks like organizing this CD booklet, and then you get home and you're like, what the fuck? Where is this? Where is this
Maybe
CD?
like
You've left the CD at the
maybe like
club in the CD jam.
or a vodka Red Bull would be like covered like half your thing or whatever. So like I'm very thankful now, but yeah.
In terms of the fourth wall breaking jokes as well, I did love they take a shot at The Rock and his comment about
Yeah.
the hierarchy of power in the DC being about to change. Like, I think Deadpool says something along that lines, like, now that I'm Marvel Jesus, the hierarchy of power is about to change. I was like, oh my God. Mad Max and IP infringement. They mentioned Furiosa as well. This is a part where I also wasn't a huge fan of this. Like some of those characters, like apart from Sabretooth and Toad, who were pretty recognizable, all of the others kind of just blurred into generic bad guy villain type Mad Max type character. I was like, that's a bit disappointing when there is such a plethora of bad guys in the Marvel comics universes that they could have pulled in here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a Mad Max person, but even I recognized what was going on. Like, I don't think I've ever seen any of them, to be honest. Like, no idea. But even I saw that and I was like, oh, it's a bit hot.
Yeah, you don't have to have seen Mad Max to be like, oh, there's cars driving through a desert, like post-apocalypse type style. I was like, oh, it's a Mad Max reference.
Stevie Wonder could have seen that, and he's blind.
Is Stevie Wonder still alive?
Sorry.
I think he might be blind and dead.
Oh, I'm just blind on weekends. But I was reading something today about Stevie Wonder and Shaquille O'Neal because I'm just researching stuff about the basketball at the Olympics. But yeah, thought I'd slip that in with my glasses.
Deadpool also cracks a joke at the over-exorbitant MCU run times. But then this movie clocks in at over 2 hours. Like it's 127 minutes itself. So there are periods where it feels like they're kind of lingering on some stuff. Where it's like, okay, we can move on.
There would have been a brand deal. There would have been, in those times, there would have been a brand deal in there. That's how they get money. Like when I spoke to Mum before and she was asking about the movie, she's like, how long is it? I said, 2 hours. She goes, what, 3 hours? I go, no, it's like a bit over 2. And she goes, oh, that's low for a Marvel movie. And she was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think because it has a lot of like improv as well, like clearly improv.
Yeah.
That generally bloats out run times as well because it's like, oh, that was a cool take with that cool joke, so we have to use that even though it's slightly longer than what we really need, so we'll just use that. And it does end up being a bit longer. So there are moments where you're like, okay, we're kind of hammering home this point 2 or 3 times where we could have just got away with once. But it's cool. On the mind fingering moments as well, I love after it happens to Deadpool, he goes, I'm telling Blake. And then there was a really shocking joke as well with a reference to Hugh Jackman and his divorce. I did not expect that to be in there. And that got a big laugh out of everyone in the crowd. And a bit like a laugh. And it was one of those, that's funny. Oh, we shouldn't have laughed at that reactions.
It's like a joke you'll see on social media on like a meme page and people laugh at it. But then the fact it was in a movie, you're like, oh, what's going on here? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's a bit red hot.
It was the Tenacious D Donald Trump joke.
Yeah, exactly.
everybody laughed, even Jack Black. In the moment, it was hilarious. And then in hindsight, they were like, oh, shouldn't have done that.
That wasn't a joke, though. That was a tribute.
Oh my God. Karina's going to love that. She's going to love that moment. You fool.
So this is the last time we'll ever do this. This has been nice.
They talk about Marvel and the multiverse being, in recent times, miss after miss after miss. And then
Overdone. Like, the ripping on it is so good. Like, how much they take the piss out of it is, it's quite refreshing as well, because, like, I guess that's probably Marvel looking at them as well, because obviously they'd have to approve the whole movie. So that's probably Marvel looking at themselves being like, hey, if we're going to take the piss out of ourselves, Deadpool is the person to do it.
And it would have been weird if they didn't mention it too. So I'm glad that they did bring it up. And yeah, he says that we're kind of joining at a bit of a low point right now. So, which is true. Like, MCU is probably as low as it's been since probably Iron Man 1. Whereas, like, everyone was like, oh, what the heck is this going to be? And then it built right up. Endgame was at its peak, and then it has gone downhill.
It's just what, like, this, honestly, this movie is probably my second, it was my top, I don't know if it was like one or two, but like, it was like, they're literally, it's Deadpool and Wolverine fighting against each other. It's my favorite movie that I'm looking forward to this year, because I'm looking forward to Joker so much, and I fucking hate musicals, but after seeing the trailers for Joker, I'm like, oh my God, feed me right now. I need this. And this is also the Deadpool and Wolverine movies, but something to look for 6 years. So, like, seeing how close they are, and for years that it was just Marvel days. It'd be like Marvel is, for a sports reference, Marvel is the Penrith Panthers and DC is the West Tigers. But now it's like, Cronulla and the Roosters. Like,
Yeah, so I'm glad that they did mention that. I do hope that after this movie, and it's all about the sacred timeline, I do hope we move on from this whole multiverse thing, where it was really off-putting for some people, where you'd get all emotional about someone dying and then they'd be like, oh, it was just a different universe. Does it matter if anyone dies at this point?
There's also some cheap shots in with the multiverse stuff where, like, they were like, oh, I saw this magician, I've got this ring, and they're doing like the Doctor Strange stuff, and it's like, how have you connected this? Like, you were clearly trying to connect this to help with the evolution of Marvel, but there's been, you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think these two timelines have ever had a coloration of Doctor Strange and X-Men, and like the fact that it'd be like all of a sudden, like, I'd be like, oh, I'm doing a pub review and I have a bintang, and I haven't been to Bali in 25 years, and it's like, oh, he's just got a bintang now. So, like, that was a bit weird the more I think about it, but like,
the Marvel Sparkle Circle.
Yeah,
it kind of just came out of nowhere. I guess they had to, but it was okay. There is a Honda Odyssey fight sequence. Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool bit of music in that too, with the smashes his head on the radio, and The Greatest Showman plays for about 2 seconds, and then he smashes his head again and it goes away. And then there's a fight in a bus as well. Also awesome. I think that's probably the best fight. Like, I think that bus sequence tops the first sequence, just because the camera work is a bit better.
Camera work's insane with it. Like, wow.
And in the previous two Deadpool movies, Deadpool is obviously obsessed with Wolverine. So to finally get them teaming up. But then in this one, because he's with the guy that he's been obsessed with for the last two movies, he has a new obsession. That new obsession becomes Thor. And all of those moments.
He just loves Australians.
He does. And I love that I feel like that's the teaser for where Deadpool goes from here. he has to eventually build
Yeah.
up to finally meeting Thor, because he talks about having, I have a special moment in the future with Thor. I have to get to there.
Yeah.
So they do leave a couple of like loose threads to move this forward, but we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, now the big spoilers, the cameos that are very important. They are actual legitimate characters in this. We mentioned comic accurate Logan, Henry Cavill as variant Wolverine. Who else did we get? X-23 returns. Awesome to see her come back. Although Marvel went and spoiled that themselves in the final trailer. So if you haven't watched, if you've watched the trailer,
Right.
that was
That's the
ruined.
thing. We said they had to spoil one or two things, and like that, but the other ones they didn't spoil. I think they've done well compared to the Spider-Man movie. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, 100%. They've really clamped down on having leaks
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, the X-23 being in the trailer, that was definitely how, like, hey, look over here. Like, it was the old magician trick of, look over
Yeah.
here, look at this cool thing. Ignore all of this other stuff over
yeah.
here.
Whereas like the Spider-Man movie, we knew who was going to come for it. Like everyone was saying for ages, and like, whereas this, it was like literally, and as we were saying before, you're in a movie full of people that are obsessed with Marvel, dress up, whatever, and then just seeing the reaction, you're like, wow, like yeah.
Yep. And then like even like the fake leaks that were out there of Taylor Swift as Lady Deadpool. Again, it was like a look over here. Don't research anymore, because
Yeah.
in this movie
Excellent.
we get Chris Evans, who initially you think is Captain America, and then the big reveal, it's not Captain America. He's
Yeah.
Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch from Fantastic Four.
Yeah. So good.
Awesome.
But he was my favorite.
He was not.
He was number 2 of my favorite cameos.
Yep.
Nah.
We also get Jennifer Garner as Elektra from the not Deadpool, the Daredevil movie.
I love Daredevil. Oh.
Shocked we didn't.
We got Daredevil references as well, so I'm hoping there could be the Marvel Netflix Deadpool that can come in there, because I'm so excited for when this comes out, because as you know, he was my absolute favorite. If they connect, I'm probably going to turn blind from just
Yeah. I think if
Deadpool in my face.
I think we could have like Deadpool pop up in that show. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Who else do we have? Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Oh.
He's still got it. He could easily play Blade moving forward. Wouldn't feel weird at all.
Yeah.
And then my personal favorite, the one I had totally flipped out for, Channing Tatum finally got to be Gambit, Remy LeBeau. I was like, yes.
That's it. That was the best. Oh, I love him so much. Oh. I just got too excited. My whole thing just died.
Booted yourself. Too excited over Gambit.
Oh.
Yeah. To see him pop up in this movie, like, for years there was Channing Tatum's going to play Gambit. He's going to play Gambit. And then the movie just fell away. Never ended up coming to be.
Yeah.
So to see him come into this with the proper, like, French Creole accent that Deadpool calls him out on. Who's your dialect coach?
Yeah.
I can't understand a word you're saying. But to see him in like the X-Men animated series suit as well, so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they made Gambit cool, because he's always been that guy where everyone's like, he's crap. He's just a boring character that throws explosive cards. I'm like, no, Gambit is my favorite. Gambit has always been cool.
Yeah.
And they made him cool.
Yeah, so good. Oh, that made the movie for me. That was amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, like the accent was great. And it was like,
Yeah.
the best part was it was like really thick, and then it'd be just like normal when he was saying stuff that you actually needed to understand. And then it was really thick again.
I think though with that though, they would have taken. I'm hoping they just took the piss and like just letting it like ebbs and flows with how the accent was, how it was, because like it's such a funny movie. Like, but I haven't really seen that before with like a person like doing like a fake accent. You see like what's his name, Charlie Hunnam in the bike show, includes English, but he does like American, like South America, he does American stuff. It's nice seeing like them taking the piss out of someone being like, oh, you're not actually that accent, but let's ride with it because it's a Deadpool movie. Like you wouldn't see it in anything else serious. So
Yeah, I think it was intentional that it was like so up
yeah,
and down of like it's really thick so you can barely understand him. Then it's fine, you understand everything he's saying, but there is like that French twang to it. And I think that plays into the whole
yeah,
joke of who's your dialect coach? Because your accent is all over the place.
yeah, yeah, big time.
Uh, what else did we have? So yeah, as we mentioned, there was betting on this. Taylor Swift to be Lady Deadpool, not Taylor Swift. Pretty sure that was Blake Lively. They don't ever show her face, so you don't know for
Yeah,
certain, but it definitely sounded like her.
yeah.
Cowboy Deadpool. Did you recognize that voice?
Was it Dave Fane?
No. That was Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, was it? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, all right, all right.
The other bets that you could make were that Rob McElhenney was in this movie. Technically he was, but I don't know where.
Yeah.
Because there's multiple scenes where Deadpool fights a series of TVA soldiers. He's one of those.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Rob McElhenney is like in a full like helmet, fully covered, so you can't tell it's him. But he's one of those TV agents getting beat up.
Yeah. Wrexham?
Yeah, you could bet on whether there'd be a Wrexham jersey. There wasn't technically. There was a
I got Wales,
Welsh
but
flag
not Wrexham.
Deadpool, not a Wrexham jersey Deadpool. Apparently, Ollie Palmer is in a bar somewhere.
Okay.
It's one of those ones where I need to watch it again and like focus on all the background people in the bars. So yeah, there technically was a Wrexham player in this movie, but I didn't see him because he's not like he doesn't have a speaking role. He's just in the background sitting in a bar.
Of course, yeah. He's a muse.
But, yeah, so yeah, the big ones: Electro Blade, Gambit, Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
Awesome moments.
Yeah.
And pop culture references, another trope of the Deadpool movies. Gossip Girl, Bye Bye Bye. The LA Rams are mentioned very randomly.
Yeah.
Because Wolverine looks like he belongs on the LA Rams.
Yeah. That's weird.
Spider-Man with the wrist cannons is mentioned. We see the Fox 20th Century Fox logo. The Pinocchio joke.
Yeah.
That was pretty full on.
Yeah.
That's joking about a Disney character in that way. Did not expect to see that.
For such a small character, the Ant-Man stuff.
Yeah, the giant Ant-Man suit.
Yeah. For such a small thing, like Oh, Paul, like I can't remember the Paul Rudd, but the Paul Rudd thing was in the trailer, so everyone, if you've seen the trailer, you know it. But
they showed the giant suit. They mentioned the Van Wilder movie and The Proposal.
Oh yeah.
When Wolverine puts his mask on, they mentioned Batman. It's kind of like Batman, but he can move his neck. And then
I was saying that I saw someone today walking around that had a neck like this. I was like, oh my god, like some big bloke, and like he literally was walking. I was like, oh god,
yeah, that looks
like he was massive.
And Spock is mentioned as well.
Yeah,
a bit of Star Trek. So there was probably way more. Like I took 4 pages of notes in this movie.
Yeah,
and I probably could have. I think if I watch it again, I'll probably take at least another 4. Just
see, I took 2 beers and 1 cocktail and a hot dog. So that was my 4 notes that I took during the movie.
You had 2 cocktails.
But I took myself. You gave me a cocktail, but like,
yeah. I was like, I don't drink, but Jackson will want this.
Yeah.
And was I wrong? No.
We know, like this is good. And then I gave you a Diet Coke as a payback, so perfect.
Yep. So yeah, I love this movie. Like I said, I think it was
Yeah.
easily up there with Endgame. Personally, I would say this Deadpool is now the best trilogy in the MCU.
Yeah, yep,
Like
yeah,
the
100%.
Guardians trilogy is a really solid trilogy as well. But for me, this
Yeah.
one just like fits in with my personal tastes a bit more, and
Yeah,
it's got
yeah,
Gambit in it. Immediately jumps to the top.
yeah, yeah. Literally, yeah. Especially with all like how much they push the R-rated boundaries and all the jokes and how good Ryan is. Literally, my favorite trilogy MCU. It's probably my second favorite movie I've seen all year. So, yeah,
And I love that it does, like we said, have those threads to move the MCU forward. But this
yeah,
ultimately felt more like all the Deadpools. It's a love story, kind of about Deadpool's
yeah,
love for Vanessa, but also just for his friends as well. That was
yeah.
like the big,
God, his whole thing was about his friends.
yeah.
Like
It was just about saving his
he
friends.
didn't give a shit. He didn't give a shit if other universes died. He just wanted to save his friends. Like literally, I found one moment. Big spoiler, and if you're still here, you've clearly seen it, or you don't care. He literally left everyone that was helping him in that universe just to leave, and they all left to die. Like
Mhm.
in other Marvel movies, he would have taken them all with him, but like he left them for dead because all he cared about was his five friends
Yep.
and what that was. Like he left everyone else for dead and it was gone. So yeah, that was the kind of thing that kind of was a bit like, oh, that's the one thing I don't like about this movie, but also fair enough because that was his timeline.
Yep.
Sometimes you have selfish people in your life that only focus on one thing. So yeah,
And like, I think it was ultimately overall, this felt like a sort of like a funeral or a eulogy for
yeah,
the Fox MCU, not so much a
yeah,
reset kickoff for the next phase of Disney MCU. Like this was a
yeah,
let's close that chapter. That's done now. We don't have to reference it again because
yeah,
like
yeah,
Elektra, Gambit, Human Torch, or that version of Human Torch are all kind of left to die.
yeah,
X-23 though got out. She survives, which is
yeah,
very good because she can play into the whole young Avengers that they seem to be building with
yeah. Of course.
Ms. Marvel, the new Hawkeye, like all of those characters. So
Yeah.
cool for that. Last thing, the 3 Deadpool movies. What is your ranking of those 3 movies, having seen all 3 of them back to back quite recently?
I don't know. Two. I want to say two as number one.
Oh wow.
Just 'cause I thought it was great. Yeah. Just 'cause I thought it was great, but also I love what's his name? I'm saying I love someone. I can't remember his name. The young Kiwi actor. I love him. I'm the one that was in Hunt for the Wilder People. I think he is amazing. I'm obsessed with him. Like I think they're all. I don't know. 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3. I can't say it. Sorry, I can't. I think they're all amazing in their all individual ways. I remember when first Deadpool came out. That's when I first started getting back into superhero movies, and that really helped me there. 2, I loved because I thought it was really really cool, and then obviously 3. I'm sorry, they're all the same to me. I'm not going to rate it. Sorry.
I would put 2 at the bottom.
Oh, so you hate New Zealanders? Fair enough.
Yeah. No, my big issue with that one is some of the CG in that is really, really bad.
Yeah, yeah,
And the cameos in that cameos for cameos' sake.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah,
Storyline wise, I think it's a more thought out story than Deadpool 1, but
yeah.
I think now this is where it gets hard. Do I put Deadpool and Wolverine above Deadpool 1? I don't think so, because I think like Deadpool 1 was so groundbreaking at the time. Like we'd
Yeah, that's the thing.
never
Yeah,
seen
you
anything
couldn't
like
like
it.
if Deadpool 1 was kind of like
The third time we'd
I don't
seen
know,
a movie
Green
like that.
Lantern. Yeah, or if it was like a Green Lantern and you're watching, you're like, what is this? Like there's certain Marvel movies that I watched and I was like, wow, this is helping get back into it. Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool 1 were both smash hits. I remember when the first Iron Man came out, I was like, oh, I don't really care as much, but those two stick in my mind heaps. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, like Iron Man 1 had that problem of the big bad was kind of just like an evil version of the good guy. Whereas
Yeah,
and Deadpool 1 had that issue a little bit as well, where Francis
yeah,
was just evil Deadpool.
yeah,
This one, like Deadpool and Wolverine, the villain is totally different. Like it has totally different
yeah,
power set and everything, so that's cool. But yeah, I think
yeah. Finger banging.
because of like how finger bang, Jesus. Because of how groundbreaking Deadpool 1 was, I think I would go Deadpool 1, Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool 2.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like I can say that, I can say that. Like I probably have to sit down and watch them all in a row and just be like, hey, but they're all such a pinnacle that it's probably it's the best trilogy I've seen in Marvel. Maybe even the best trilogy I've seen ever in movies. Like it hits so well. Like honestly, off the top of my head, I have to sit down and think about a better trilogy that I'd like more, but it's just so well done. Like you'll watch like I guess come to mind, Scary Movie 1, amazing. Scary Movie 2, amazing. Scary Movie 3, yuck, what am I watching?
Yep.
Then you think of other trilogies and you're like, there's always one. I'm never going to Lord of the Rings, so if anyone's watching this, Lord of the Rings. No, I don't. I didn't watch that. I didn't like it. There's just certain things where everything was just so good. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like these always either I think not even met, like they all exceeded expectations.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think the whole fact that those first two movies were so tied up in Deadpool taking shots at Wolverine and that sort of stuff, and
yeah.
being obsessed with Wolverine, to finally get them buddy copped up.
It's all.
It was
It's
like it was all
almost not
planned.
like they knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's always going to be planned. How much they rip on and stuff, and how much Ryan is not a serious person. It's not like you've got like, I don't know, like he's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger being like, I need to be serious. You. They knew what they were doing. It seems like it was like a thing where they just knew exactly what they were doing and they were building towards it. And they were like, "Hey, this would be a fun way to still be a Marvel movie, but still away from it, taking the piss." And I think it's planned. I think what they've done is planned, and it's a great plan. So like, it's like going back to another show, like How Many Mile. Apparently, they said that they knew all along from day dot that by the end of it, Ted and Robin would get together, and they filmed that at the start. So like, it seems like a thing where they've just known all along and just made it like a thing, and they backed themselves to get a 3-movie thing series because they knew that Ryan is an amazing marketing person, people would like it and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, and I guess like Wolverine was technically in the Fox family, so like they
yeah,
teasing that did make sense. They could have eventually gone there, but then when all of that
yeah,
collapse and rights deals and everything changed hands, it was kind of like, oh, we're never
yeah,
actually going to get to see them come together. But for then
yeah,
Disney and Marvel to be like, no, that is something that the fans really want. Let's
yeah,
deliver on it, and for them to deliver on it so well, give us that nice closure.
yeah,
And now, like
yeah,
X-Men officially in MCU, Deadpool officially in
yeah,
MCU. Fantastic Four, they're 100% in now. So
yeah. The back, yeah,
I'm excited for the future of MCU, which
yeah.
for a while there, I was not. I was like,
No,
I'll watch them when they hit Disney Plus,
yeah,
or if I get
yeah,
a preview invitation. But now I'm like, I need to see whatever the next,
yeah,
like even the new Captain America Brave New World. Like, I'm excited for that. And I didn't really expect to be.
yeah, big time. Saying that, I'll say one thing about this movie, and sorry if I'm jumping in early. But if you don't really know Marvel movies or you don't really know Deadpool, this is something you can wait to see on TV.
Yeah.
It's not one of those Marvel movies where like you have to say like, because Mum, when I was on the phone to Mum, she was like, "I'll go," and like she lives in a small town. I was like, "No, like you won't know it." I was like, "You'll miss a lot of the references, like all the cameos or whatever." It's go support movies, 100%. Go support the movie, go see the movie. But if you're at a point in your life, you're like, "Oh, I can wait." Just watch on the TV, and it's still good there. It's not like an end game where it's like boom, boom, boom. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, go support the movie at the movies, but if you have to wait, you can wait. So yeah, that's mine. Yeah,
They do a pretty good job though of you don't really need to do like the problem with the MCU recently is because there's like 17 movies or I think more these days where it's like you go into these movies feeling like, oh, I've got to do all my homework. They do a good job of when they introduce some of these characters to sort of, with like a one-off line, give you a bit of context of why they're here.
yeah.
So they do that. That's pretty cool. One in particular, I did love the line of, "Oh, there's only one blade," and then Deadpool gives you the knowing look at the screen of like, yeah, with the way that movie's going, there may only be one blade. So in closing, what would you rate Deadpool and Wolverine out of 5?
As a movie, 4. Sorry, I'm just looking at this. And this. As a movie, 4. As a MCU movie that's come out over the last couple of years, 4.75.
Yep. Yeah, I gave this one a 4 as well. Like I said, there are a couple of moments where it's like, we could have done without repeating that 3 or 4 times. Like, particularly the nice pool joke. We did that a few too many times. Didn't need that 16 times. But cameo-wise, great job of integrating them and making them legitimate characters with a reason to be in there. And it's just it's a fun movie. Like, don't go in there expecting
it's fun.
the greatest Academy Award winning movie of all time. Just enjoy it. It's fun. It's funny. It's gory. It's what you want from this movie. Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Jackson on TikTok for all of your Sydney pub recommendations and reviews at Jax_car. And you can follow me on social media at Jamie Apps Media and at Pario Magazine. The commentary booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.